Hello everyone, it is September 15th. Actually, good morning everyone. It is September 15th, 2022, and we have our trees planted and all of our fruit bushes. We got them planted earlier this week. So we also pruned them back a little bit. Some of them were a little out of control. But we got this blueberry plant. That's really pretty. It's the silver dollar. And this blueberry plant, which is, let's see, powder blue blueberries. So we got those planted this week. We also got this Bartlett pear tree planted. That looks pretty good. We actually got that one. We actually got most of these trees from the nursery. Some of them we got from Lowe's, so we'll see how they'll do. This one is the Santa Rosa plum. That was another one that we got from the nursery up the road. But they're looking good. I believe it was this tree that we had into the bucket so long, it was actually the roots were coming out of the bottom of it. This little tree we think is a plum tree, but it's a mystery tree, and we got it for like 15 bucks. And who knows what we'll get out of it, but I think it's a plum tree, not sure. Then we got this tree over here that we also got from the nursery. It's a Georgia Belle peach, and when we first got it there was a little bitty peach on it, and let me tell you, that was one of the best peaches I had ever had. So we're going to figure out what to do about the bug situation on these trees. And then last but not least, we have a fig. I can't remember. I want to say maybe a turkey fig, not sure. But at any rate, we planted these trees. We used cocoa core, and also, I don't know what the name of that stuff is, but it's some kind of probiotic that helps them bacteria. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with an M. But we put that in all the trees. So hopefully they'll all grow like that nice apple tree we have over there. Coming into the garden, sorry, we have some road noise. Some of the zinnias are coming out that were buds in the last video. So these are really pretty. I really like these flowers. Pretty excited. I'm going to plant those next year. So we've done some stuff to the garden because now it's getting cooler, but we're getting a lot of produce in. We harvested a bunch of stuff last night, so there's not going to be much out here to harvest, but there are some chili peppers out here that I need to get to and dehydrate. I know there's some habaneros down in there. I've been dehydrating a lot of the peppers to make powders for different spice mixes. We still have these little ones that we need to plant, but we're probably going to bring them in the house, the lemon and key lime. But we have a grape, and we're going to build a trellis for that, and we're going to get another grape, and we're going to have them come probably from opposite sides. Luckily this doesn't need a pollinator, but we thought it'd be cool to have two kinds of grapes. These beans are about done. I'm up to my eyeballs in beans. I don't even know how many pounds in the house I've got to process, but I think these beans are about done. We've tried with where we've had so much rain, and we try to come out here and spray. It doesn't really work out for us, and the bugs just come. So we've just had a really hard time with that. Also, it kind of appears there might be a morning glory in here, which I'll show you the same thing, similar to the other bed, but there looks like a morning glory in here, which is kind of weird. I don't know if that's what it is, but it appears they look a lot like the ones that are on our porch, that have been there a long time. We thought we accidentally killed the one on the porch and it actually came back after like a year or two. Weird. But anyway, our tomatoes, we've about harvested all those. We've gotten a lot of tomatoes. We have a deep freeze, and I will say that at least half of the freezer I had to clear out just so I could freeze the tomatoes until it's time to process all of them. So we have a ton of tomatoes. We had a really productive tomato season, and we've still got more coming in. So definitely going to have more tomato beds next year. Unfortunately, our sunflowers, I should have got out here and measured how tall they were. But, ooh, what is that little fella up there? Oh, it looks like a grasshopper. Our sunflowers fell over. They're really heavy. I mean, these stalks are like bamboo stalks. They're massive. So our poor sunflowers, they're done, but I'm gonna wait till they dry out and I'm gonna harvest the seeds from those and keep those. We have been harvesting seeds from as many different kinds of plants as we can get. So we will find out if we can have a successful seed harvest next year, or a harvest from our seeds. I'm gonna do an experiment in the spring. So we thought our onions were not gonna do great. We weren't sure. I need to get in here and clean up some of these weeds. However, our onions seem to be doing okay. I don't think they're going to get too big, obviously, but we'll probably get something. That squash plant has given us a ton of squash, but we're going to probably tear that out because it's pretty spent. So this bed is pepper still. I'm not really too sure. I don't think it's going to produce much for us, but we've gotten a lot of peppers this year, so you know, it is what it is. You lose some, you win some, you lose some. This right here, so I thought it was a bean plant. Jason threw a bean there and it was growing like a bean plant, and it looks like the one over there. So we think that we have two sets of morning glories, and we don't understand where they came from because we didn't plant morning glories out here. So it looks like we might have two sets of morning glories. And we have no idea where they came from, but I'm still trying to learn flowers and plants and all that. And I thought it was the bean. It looked like a lot of beans, but it's not. I think it's morning glories. This is our other bean bed. Like I said, we've tried to spray and treat as organic as possible. Unfortunately, the bugs just killed these leaves. So with that, we have picked a ton of beans from this as well. So we're probably going to be taking this terrace down soon, or these beans anyway. We're going to see if we can get any more from it. This thing has just totally exploded. These black-eyed Susans are so pretty. And then these black-eyed Susans, I'm telling you, super pretty. And then you have the yarrow that's mixed in there. And here's what's interesting. This tick seed had powdery mildew, and it kind of just went away. So I'm not really sure about that, but we had some elephant ears back here. When we actually got them, they weren't doing good, and the original set actually died off, and these grew back in place. Really weird how that happened, but it did happen. This bed, oh, well, we got everything we could get out of this bed. The corn wasn't super successful because we tried thinking, well, the beans will just climb up the corn and use it as a trellis, and unfortunately the beans choked out the corn, so we really didn't get much corn. We got beans, but we took that out, sitting over there in a pile. We need to make a compost pile, and I need to pick up these bamboo sticks, but it was late last night. This is my experimental bed. Some onions in the house. We're going green. or sprouting I should say, so I put a couple out here, but the rest are shallots, and our shallots are doing really, really well. Here's our other shallot bed. It's also doing pretty good. Actually, no, this isn't shallots, excuse me. This is, so that onion bed over there is Sept. These are bulbs. These have really, I planted these bulbs like a couple weeks ago, and they are just, this exploded. So obviously I think what we need to do next year is put onions and buy bulbs and use these giant root bags, because it seems like the things that we put in these root bags, they do very, very well. You know what? And I forgot, we planted some cooler fall, winter type harvest. So our okra, guys, we have so much okra. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plants out here, 10 plants. And boy, let me tell you something, we cannot even keep up with all the okra we have. This one is about spent, but they've done so well this year. They're such mass producers. We tried this purplish red okra this year, and honestly, you really can't tell the flavor difference, but I don't eat a lot of fried foods, but fried okra is one of my favorites. Our carrots are actually starting to really sprout up. As you can see, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to be honest, we don't know what that is. We have no idea. If anybody can tell me what that is, we did plant it, and what's crazy about this little plant, aside from all this dead okra I didn't know that was in here, this little plant here, let me tell you something. We planted it, all its leaves got eaten, and we thought it was spinach, and they were like, no, it's not spinach. And then it looks like Brussels sprouts. We were like, we don't know. And then it went brown. And now I come back out here, no joke, it's green. Looks like it wants to do something. I have no idea what that is and what's going on, but I don't know. Don't know. We've never grown Brussels sprouts, but we did buy some. Okay, so we have some carrots. Also, the broccoli before, picked it too late, so it wasn't good. So we bought more broccoli since it's a fall plant, and we planted some, and I've got to figure out what to do with these two. But now that we've got beds open, I'm going to plant some broccoli in that back bed probably. We also bought some lettuce, some romaine lettuce. We took out all the lettuce that was in this bed, because we had such a great lettuce harvest this year, and it finally just bolted. So we went ahead and took that up and put the broccoli there. But this okra has an awesome. But over here, we did plant some Brussels sprouts this past weekend, kind of around the bed. And I planted it knowing that I'm going to have to pull the lettuce that's bolting. This lettuce bolted. Some of the lettuce is bolting, or it's just done. And these pepper plants we're probably going to pull up here if they don't start producing or finish producing anything. Like, there are some peppers, but not much. So if they don't start producing, we're going to pull them up anyway. So there'll be plenty of room for the Brussels sprouts to come in. I kind of planted them like on the edges of the bed. So we've got Brussels sprouts in there. This pepper bed. Here's more shallots. These shallots have done really well, and you know, I really need to figure out when I need to pull these. I don't know when they're supposed to be pulled, but wow, that looks amazing. It's so weird how you can come out one day in your garden and you don't see much of anything going on, and then all of a sudden you come out here and things are ready to go. Our pepper bed, we're still, I think he picked them all last night actually, the big Berthas. Oh, these poblanos, these anchos, we're getting a ton of them in. we're still getting a ton of plants. He picked some, I don't know if it was the Reapers last night or the habaneros, but those are sitting in the house that I gotta do something with. Oh, it looks like this itty bitty pepper didn't make it. That's so sad. Tiny pepper. But we've got a ton of peppers still coming in this bed. So peppers need to be in a bed by themselves. We've learned that. They don't go with tomatoes. I've already picked a lot of the herbs and I'm dehydrating those. So we're probably going to plant some cilantro. Now at least the birds can see the bird feeder. Although I'm going to miss that. Those beans are real pretty wrapped around it. This bed has actually really surprised us. So this bed here, we do have sweet potatoes. We checked the other day and we do have sweet potatoes, but we're going to let them go until right before it frosts. And then we're going to pick them. But I know this is a weed. It's called a velvet something. I think I had said what it was in the last video. But I'm just like, whatever. It's a flowering thing. Bugs. Absolutely love it. I look at it this way. It's not really doing anything to this bed. This bed is still actually producing, so it's not really hurting anything. But we've picked a ton of, and that squash isn't looking too good. That's why we're also going to pull that from earlier. We've gotten a ton of melons. Actually, we thought we were getting 2 melons and we ended up with 6 cantaloupes. And we think that's probably done. I mean, you see that there's flowers out here, so we're still not 100% sure. We still think things are producing. Like, we got a cucumber there. And here's what's interesting. This decided to travel outside of the fence. And it has cucumber on it. So I'm interested to see. It's got powdery mildew. I'm interested to see if that maybe produces anything. This one traveled outside. This is the spaghetti squash, I believe. Traveled outside. I put it back over. Oh, look. It's another insect. I traveled outside, or it traveled outside of the fence. And then I put it back over, but then like it came back through the fence. Also, I guess it wanted to come back to its home. I don't know, but there's a ton of blooms on there, so if something produces great. We were thinking we were done get the spaghetti squash. We got one, and I didn't realize that this was also spaghetti squash. I didn't plant this bed. This has kind of been his bed. We have our beds that we prefer to do, each of us, and he's more of the running vine kind of plants. But we have a spaghetti squash, and we think that's about ready to go. It's not really sure. The last one we picked was not quite right, but we went ahead and ate it. It was still really good. But this is the first shallot bed I made. I mean, it's just, these shallots do great. Onions do great in root bags. Just an FYI, buy you a giant root bag. These are 45-gallon bags, I believe. Bunch of some onions and shallots. They work great. We just put some topsoil down at the bottom, some potting soil at the top with some whatever fertilizer we used for specifically onions and shallots. And man, worked out great. But I don't know how many sweet potatoes are in this bed, but I'll tell you what, there are roots. Just, oops, I hate stepping on these vines. This thing has literally just planted roots everywhere. It is like a massive jungle in this thing, but there are things going on. These tomatoes, these 2 tomato plants, these are little Napolis, have produced a ton of tomatoes for us. I'm pretty excited about this because I've never planted those before, and I think they're going to make a great spaghetti sauce. So pretty excited about that. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing a weed. Sometimes I don't know what a weed is. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm not a nature person, so sometimes I'm trying to figure out, is it something we planted or is it a weed? And I have to let it grow before I determine it is what it is. I mean, look at that. That's huge. We will never again grow these in the beds. However, man, this thing is just huge. Here's some more Brussels sprouts. So we're probably going to tear these beans out, like I said. We're going to grow some winter stuff, or some fall winter stuff, because we want to keep utilizing the beds for as long as we can. But anyway, our garden it's September, mid-September. Yeah, mid-September, and it is producing still a ton of food for us. So, not quite over. Hopefully we can double the beds next year. And we have learned so much from what we're going to do, from what we did this year to what we're going to do next year. So it's going to be really helpful. Like I said, this was a total experiment, what we did. But hopefully we're going to take what we learned, make sure things are in cages that need to be in cages. Things need to be staked early. Things, if they need a trellis, beans are not even going to beds next year. We are going to build separate trellises for those suckers. How we plant stuff's going to be different next year, even where we locate. Even onions. Onions are all going to go. I'm going to attempt to buy more root bags and do root bag. We're going to try to grow potatoes next year. I mean, we've got a lot of things that we want to try to grow next year. A lot of interesting other vegetables that we want to try. So we learned a lot this year. We learned what works, what doesn't work. We learned which beds have drainage, which ones really don't. I mean, just so much fertilizing, and we need to compost, and just so much. And hopefully the trees will maybe be productive either next year or the year after. So that's our hope. But anyway, it's an experiment, and you just kind of hand it over to God and give it to God and pray that He extends you grace and blesses your garden. And I mean, without Him, this wouldn't have been done. I mean, I was just kind of a tool. Essentially, we were just tools that came out here and did what we needed to do. And you know, sometimes all you can do is just leave it up to God to grow. Over there's Eddie the Eagle, as he is hanging out in the garden as always. It's always fun seeing him out here. I know he's just a statue, but we love eagles. We see eagles all the time out here, so we love them. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to do an update on the garden. Kind of keep this, like I said, this is kind of more just a journal, so I could see what's progressed, what we took out when we grow when. Just talk about some of the things, like these beans in the beds. That's not going to work. I thought it would be great. These things right here, the tomatoes, I think we're still gonna use the ropes, but we're gonna try something a little bit different next year. And honestly, we thought we had time to stake them, and they just grew literally overnight, and we kind of missed that boat. So that's why you see stakes everywhere, because we didn't really prune them like we should have, or stake them. But like I said, you know what? You're always learning something out here. Just like we thought the peppers over there in that bed would do great over here, and they didn't really do that great. I also didn't expect these sunflowers to get that big. I knew they were mammoth sunflowers, but I'm like, how big is that? Nope, ain't wrong. They can get up to 11 feet or more, I guess. 9 feet, so I didn't know that. But anyway, we're gonna have more beds. We're gonna grow a lot more tomato. We're just gonna do more stuff next year. And I mean, there hasn't really been anything that we planted that we didn't like. We only plant stuff that we will eat, or we're willing to try. But we're gonna try different methods next year. That's why I tried so many different experimental methods with, okay, are these companion plants gonna work? Will this work here? Will the beans grow on the corn? Well, you can't even grow beans and peas together because the beans suffocate the peas. These beans, we were never even supposed to have a trellis for, and it took over everything, and we ended up needing to do a small trellis. The squash, I mean, these runner plants took over everything. It's just everywhere. So we grew too many runners in one bed. So there were some mistakes that we made. We got really excited and just kind of started planting whatever and hoped for the best, and relatively overall it has done very, very well for us, so I really can't complain. And when you garden, you're gonna lose stuff anyway. It just is what it is. You're gonna lose stuff and you're gonna get a lot more stuff, and then maybe next year we won't get a lot of peppers, but we'll get a lot of onions. I mean, it just is what it is. On that, I didn't expect to get so much okra, so I have been pretty excited about that. But yeah, and then I've all these flowers, you know. I'm terrible at growing flowers, the ones in the pots. And our herb towers and flower towers have done pretty good. And just the flowers around the garden overall. So, you know, we planted trees, so we've learned all kinds of things this year. It's been a very big learning experience and a learning curve. And I'm also learning how to really process food, canning. I already knew how to water bath can, but I now have a manual pressure cooker and an electric pressure cooker. And dehydrating stuff. I would love a freeze dryer, but oh my gosh, they're so expensive. But I'm learning how to do all of that stuff on top of gardening, and I've kind of overwhelmed myself, to be honest. And we really don't have anywhere to put stuff, so it's been a learning curve. So anyway, I'm gonna go inside and process. There's so much food. There's food everywhere in big bowls on the floor. Our table, there's no room to put anything. It's all green beans. I'm just up to my eyeballs. So I'm going to go in and process some food. I'm thankful for it. He was like, do you want me to rip out the green beans? He was asking me if he wanted to rip out the green beans because we were getting so many of them in. I said, no, don't waste food. You know, we could probably give them to somebody, or I'm not going to waste them though. So until it's just to the point where they're not producing, we're just not going to rip them out. So that's why they look raw, real shoddy, but I'm telling you, we're still getting beans. So until there's no more beans, then we'll rip them out. That's how I feel about all plants. Until it really stops producing, I don't want to tear it out. And that corn back there was done. Those beans back there were, it was just done. So that's why that bed's gone. Anyway, I hope you all have a blessed evening. And I just thank God. This has been an amazing, amazing gardening season. And I'm just excited to see really applying what we learned this year to next year. So I will be out here with another update when we plant some more stuff. And some of this stuff is just done. All right, guys. I hope you all have a blessed day.